Welcome to our YouTube video series on class action lawsuits pertaining to hotel employee payroll. My name's Christopher Neufeld of Neufeld Legal, and in this particular video we're going to be focusing on hotel employees that are looking to quit or otherwise leave their current employment. Now, having launched several Canadian class action lawsuits directed at the payroll practices of the major Canadian hotel players, these lawsuits focus on aspects that impact both current and former hotel employees, both employees working on an hourly basis and those who are salaried employees, even though there are inherent differences as to how the legalities play out. And with both former and current hotel employees expressing their interest in understanding how they might have been impacted, we thought it might prove advantageous to create some specific YouTube videos that highlight certain of the key elements associated with these class action lawsuits and what actions those hotel employees might consider taking in response to the potential impact upon their own personal situation. Now, given the critical situational differences between former hotel employees, current hotel employees looking to protect their job, and current hotel employees looking to leave their job, we thought it appropriate to create several different introductory videos. For as most current hotel employees wish to protect their existing employment, if you are seriously considering leaving, you really need to be considering some key strategic steps with your legal counsel while pursuing potential underpayments in conjunction with your exit strategy, with this being this particular video's primary focus. Alternatively, if you are looking to preserve your current hotel employment, or you've already lost or departed your hotel job, we have separate videos for each of those situations with the links contained in the description set out below this video. Now, if you're looking to leave your hotel job but haven't taken that final step of informing your boss that you quit, that is the optimal situation from a lawyer's perspective, such that you really need to speak with the appropriate lawyer before taking any further action. For given what we understand about most employee payroll practices in Canada, you are at an enormous advantage when you haven't walked away from your existing hotel job but have every intention of doing so, such that you are in the best possible situation to work strategically with a law firm such as ourselves. Strategic planning tends to produce the best results and is the reason that employers typically have the upper hand when firing their employees. As such, if you are capable of planning and implementing a well thought out plan when exiting your hotel job, you stand to have the upper hand. So what is the basis of such a plan? Invariably, it will need to be specific to your particular situation. Nonetheless, you can see where we perceive a baseline strategy from the following discussion on the payroll situation at far too many Canadian hotels that is resulting in the underpayment of hotel employees and resulted in our ongoing class action lawsuits. So how exactly do our hotel employee payroll class action lawsuits have an impact on yourself and could well form an integral part of your plan to move forward from your current hotel employment? To put it bluntly, far too many hotel employers in Canada have relied upon payroll practices and software that was designed for employees in the United States. It was not configured for employees engaged in Canada. This in turn impacts payroll reporting and calculations in a multiplicity of ways, which can be incredibly significant. Naturally, this varies between provinces and whether someone is employed on an hourly or salaried basis, with scenarios arising that can see certain hotel employees being underpaid in our professional estimation in excess of 10% on an annualized basis. In other situations, it might only represent a 1 or 2% differential with respect to past annual pay and termination pay. But even that is important given that you have legally earned that money, and we are pursuing these matters typically on a contingency fee basis. So how does United States payroll differ from Canadian payroll, you might ask? And this gives rise to complexity, for there is no uniform Canadian payroll structure, but instead over 14 different payroll legal structures, all of which have unique nuances tied to their particular employment standards legislation, and each of which is far more complicated than the minimalist payroll legislation of the United States, which is more dependent upon contractual arrangements than on statutory requirements derived from the employment standards legislation. This can create considerable variances, which all too frequently results in underpayments being incurred by the hotel employees, which, if unchecked, can result in thousands of dollars being legally earned over the course of one's employment and never being paid. So how does this possibly come about? Part of it stems from the complexity associated with various calculations for computing employee payments, such as overtime pay, vacation pay, statutory holiday pay, and termination pay, which differs between provinces and goes largely unnoticed. Most people recognize the base concepts, which appear similar to their counterparts in the United States. However, the various provincial employment standards, statutes, and regulations tend to add further wage components into those calculations, which alters the computations, increases the employer's payment requirements. It's all very technical, such when it's done correctly, the numbers go up, and the amount that the employee is legally entitled to necessarily increases. Remembering that in those instances where the employer pays more than the statutory minimum, the employee is entitled to that higher payment, but not the opposite. Naturally, with variances as between each of the provinces, the deviations vary from province to province and is best explained through a confidential review and analysis of your personal pay statements as against the employment standards legislation and court precedent of your province of employment. Of further significance is the missed payment of salary, vacation pay, and statutory holiday pay, and in certain instances, overtime pay to salaried hotel employees. Here again, this emanates from an over-reliance upon American concepts of salary, which are not interchangeable with Canadian employment standards legislation. And once again, how this can be improperly dealt with can vary between employers, such as providing such a simple example as to how this is improperly computed would cause more confusion than clarity, given how many different ways that salary is in fact calculated and errors developed. As such, the best way to understand what transpired is through a confidential review and analysis of your personal pay statement. Nevertheless, with each of our major hotel employee class action lawsuits, the payroll methodology is very different, as the employers look to emulate various United States approaches to paying salary that is inconsistent with the provincial employment standards legislation that prevails across Canada. Each provincial employment standards legislation presents very specific requirements. Nevertheless, as it's easier and cheaper to simply apply American payroll practices and software, these employers seem satisfied without making those adjustments and thereby denying their employees of considerable earned money. Unfortunately, this would appear to be all too prevalent with Canadian payroll and the hotel sector, such that if you are intending to depart your current hotel employment, the last thing that you want to leave behind is a prospect of a considerable amount of legally earned money from your former employer, which, together with the potential knowledge that you may well be owed such money, provides considerable leverage to be utilized in a well thought out exit strategy that can maximize the amount of money you might collect on the way out, especially where most departing hotel employees walk away from their jobs with nothing, such that investigating your particular payroll situation can prove financially lucrative. Thank you.